Hey, welcome back to another episode of Veterun. This morning, before I introduce our guests, once again, if you have not watched the pilot episode,
Right.
as you guys have, obviously,
Right.
make sure you go back and watch that. That way, you know what exactly this YouTube channel is about. For those of you that are sticking around, this morning our guests are Dylan and Devin Allen, some local residents to West Georgia. In just a minute, I'm going to let them share their run, or excuse me, their ran rather. Sorry, we got to do that first. The run's at the end. But I've known you guys for what, about 3 years now?
Well, yeah.
Okay, well,
Close to 5 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years. Yeah, sorry, I only have 2 microphones, so they're going to be like going back and forth. So sorry about that. And no, you're not seeing double. They're twins. So yeah, they're not veterans. So this will be a very interesting episode because first off, not only are the twins and like really awesome dudes, they're also bodybuilders. I think eventually they're going to flex for the camera, but we'll get there.
Eventually.
Yeah, but they're both very successful business owners in the West Georgia area. So they're not veterans, but if you watch the pod episode, you understand that this is not only about veterans. This is also about just successful business people that have overcome hardships in life and just persevered through those hardships. So really quick, as we mentioned before we started this, you guys started Apex in 2020, correct? Or that was the original.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit more about that. So,
Okay.
So Apex actually started as a social media page.
Okay.
So interesting enough, I competed in my first show way back in the day. So back in 2016. Soon after I competed in my first show, I had a lot of friends and some clients of mine. I was a trainer at One Life at the time. And a lot of folks that were interested in getting into bodybuilding. But there just wasn't, for one, there weren't great shows back in the day. There wasn't a whole lot of knowledge, a lot of coaches out there like kind of specializing in this. So ultimately, I took a few of my friends under my wing, trained them for their first shows. I think that was actually 2018 before I put anyone on stage, but so I'm kind of skipping around. Anyway, 2017 is when I started a social media page for Apex. And what that was, I was targeting a lot of folks that, not just competitors, but folks that just had common goals and wanted to learn more, about nutrition, how nutrition directly correlates to their success, in their fitness journey, whatever that may be. So Apex started as a programming kind of company. So I started online programming, lifestyle training, competition prep. Like I said, I put my first few competitors on stage in 2018. It kind of grew from there. So I was training as a personal trainer, kind of part time at a local gym. I kind of already gave them a shout out, and then eventually, progressed into doing a lot of travel PT. So I was traveling between Villa Rica, Bremen, Carrollton, people's houses, and just everywhere doing personal training. And with that, Apex just grew. So eventually, I was looking for my own like brick and mortar place, where folks could finally just come to me instead of me going out to all these other gyms, doing all this travel. So luckily, I kind of stumbled into this one great spot in Carrollton, and worked a kind of partnership deal with Southern Therapy Services, where we kind of took over a little bit of space at their main entrance, and turned that to our first official PT studio for Apex.
Okay.
So we opened up in the heart of COVID, which a lot of folks thought was kind of weird, but we really, coincidentally kind of hit a jackpot. So we were offering just one-on-one PT during a time where like a lot of other gyms were shutting down. You had to keep the 6-foot distance and all this kind of stuff. But that's what we marketed towards. We marketed towards we're a clean, environment. It's one-on-one PT. We don't do any group training. I do all the programming. So essentially, you're coming in with a personal trainer. We're keeping our distance. I'm sanitizing in between. That's essentially how Apex Carrollton started. Was in 2020. One-on-one PT. I was still doing a lot of programming, still training all the competitors, all the lifestyle training folks. And at that time, Devin was working elsewhere, but I got way busier than I ever anticipated. I was actually taking on probably more than what I should have at the time. But you live and you learn. So, but soon after starting Apex Carrollton, I really got overwhelmed with so many clients and stuff like that. I had a wait list for most, if not every single one of my PT spots. So we started looking for a different location, and that's when we came to Bremen in 2021.
Okay.
Kind of established ourselves here. So, but yeah, those are kind of the roots of Apex, how it started.
Okay.
Got off the ground.
And now you currently own the Apex in Carrollton, correct? And forgive me if I'm wrong. You were a sheriff's deputy for a while.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
Right. So I worked at Hurricane Sheriff's Office for right at 7 years. So that was from 2014 to 2021.
Okay.
And Dylan, he opened the studio in 2020. I think it was March 2020, maybe it's summer 2020. And like he mentioned, it blew up within that first year. And I know my shifts were long. I worked 12-hour shifts. I was a deputy, so it was 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. But I would be on the road passing the studio at 4:30 in the morning, and his car would be there. And I'd come home 5:30 p.m. coming home from my shift. His car would still be there. And I'm like, dude, you're working longer shifts than I am. I'm working 12-hour shifts. So at that time, I reached out to him and was like, hey, obviously I love working out too. And so I'm thinking about getting my certification just to help out. And so I got my certification through NASM. I think it was the fall of 2020. It wasn't long after you opened. And I told him, I said, hey, I want to free some time up for you, because I almost felt bad. Like, he was so busy.
Yeah, your brother. Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you need to go home, So I told him, I said, hey, I have like 2 days during the week, and next week I have 3 days off. I'll fill in like an afternoon or something. So I worked for Dylan part-time from 2020 to 2021. Summer 2021, actually, I bought a house in Bremen 2020. So I was living around the area. And I came across a place. I was like, Dylan, we got to come look at this place. And I told him, I said, look, you're not going to get anybody better than hiring me to be 2 places at one time. So I kind of talked him into it. I was like, hey, let's do this. And if you can find another spot, let's have 2 locations. I think it was a perfect fit. And it just worked out to where August 2021, I was able to leave Hurd County and be full-time at Apex.
Okay.
So, and working full-time was bounced back and forth to the studios. And then finally bought out the Carrollton Apex from Dylan, which is the sole Apex Fitness at this moment. But I purchased that from Dylan back in January 2024.
Okay, very cool. Well, before we get into the questions that I have on the sheet that they have not seen, you guys also have some other business ventures. Battle West Georgia, promoter of that show here in West Georgia, and then I believe you guys have American Fitness. And then the current location where we're filming is Elevation Fitness, your newest venture. And then you guys are currently moving Apex over closer to Cool Subs.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about those couple business ventures.
Yeah, so I'll just start with the relocation. So Apex Fitness is, we've gotten into a larger space, which is a blessing to say that, we've outgrown the space that we originally had. And now we're able to pretty much double book our time slots. So like Dylan mentioned back in 2020, I've also had a wait list for a lot of these time frames for over a year. Average clients have been with about 2.5, 3 years. And so this allows us to, if somebody comes in, they need help, they need assistance, we don't just like put them on a wait list. Like now we can actually book a double book that time slot, still keep things semi-private. So, and also being over there with the community of businesses that we have, it just runs cohesively with our like what we're trying to do with health and wellness. So, Dr. Ziegler next door, Genesis Health, Cool Subs, Taylor over at Cool Subs, Tropical Joe's, phenomenal folks, and we're just really just blessed that everything just kind of fell into place the way it did.
Yeah.
So
we can't forget you got Pizza Hut, and,
Hut,
Carol 168 Donuts.
Everyone knows the donut shop, and I'm like, yes, we're
right next to the donut shop. Yeah,
100%. But it's full circle. I mean, you got to work it out somehow. So.
Yeah, you got the unhealthy and the healthy.
100%.
It's balanced.
Yeah, it's balanced. And the donuts are good. I've been there.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't eat there enough.
Yeah. You want to get into yours?
Yeah, other business ventures. So yeah, one cool one, Battle of West Georgia. Pretty cool thing. So that was actually my first business venture as like an actual thing, right? So like social media wise, Apex started in 2017, but Battle of West Georgia, I started promoting that in 2019 before I even opened the Carrollton Apex, which is pretty neat because it seems like a lot of times my memory kind of confuses me to where I believe I opened up the Carrollton one first. Technically, it did open first, and then the first Battle of West Georgia was in October of 2020. But the whole inspiration behind that, was the fact that at that time I had been training many competitors for years, and at that time, I just want to be very clear, there weren't many great shows in the state of Georgia. So, I was finding ourselves traveling outside of Georgia, Tennessee, Carolinas, Florida, Alabama for just good bodybuilding shows, or shows that interested the competitors I was training anyway. So, being at dozens of these shows, competing in a lot of them myself, I grew a lot of inspiration of like what makes a good show, what doesn't, So I went to a lot of shows, made a bunch of mental notes like, that's definitely something you shouldn't do, or this is something that competitors appreciate. So no lie, me and Devin were at church one morning, and I'll never forget it. We're at a local church, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, Devin, I got to tell you something after service, but like, you know,
We gotta start
this
a bodybuilding
way,
show.
yeah. But after we left, I was like, dude, we need to bring a bodybuilding show to Carrollton.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's one not far away from here, and I see many ways we can improve this thing, you know, for this area. And this is a growing bodybuilding community at the time in 2019. So I was like, yeah, I think it should happen. So by no means did I ever dream back then that it would be what it is today, to be honest with you. I had no idea. I just thought, hey, let's provide an over-the-top production, you know, that competitors can kind of enter and have a great experience, but not, you know, have to pay an arm and a leg to get into. So let's keep the costs as low as possible. Let's do the production as high as possible. If I don't make a dime off the first few years, I don't really care. Like, let's make something cool.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. You know, we gathered a lot of great vendors. The community set up the show. It's grown every single year. You know, this year was our 6th annual. You know, at some point we joined NPC, which is a huge blessing in itself. We had IFBB professionals for the first time this year. And we've got some great goals, you know, set with the Georgia NPC for the next few years. So, so yeah, that's a cool business venture for sure. Something I'm proud of. Something I have a lot of excitement in doing. So, so that's a cool one there. Sorry, I got a bunch of folks coming in. So another business venture of mine, American Fitness in Villarica. So I have a few business partners in that. My brother-in-law, Drew Harris. Shout out Drew. And then a good friend of mine, Chris Hamill. Shout out Chris. He is a veteran, so we're kind of veteran on
He's
there.
an Army veteran, right?
Yep, that's right. So that's been a really cool venture too. You know, I'd say, you know, now we're at Elevation. We've kind of got a new location here in Bremen. We've started a new business, similar model to what I was doing before in Bremen, but better, I think, in every way. But either way, in Villarica, American Fitness, I purchased that business from a good friend of mine, Dustin Traylor. It kind of took over the ownership there in operations back in 2023. It was always a goal of mine at that time to own a public gym. And, you know, at 2023, I hadn't owned a public gym, just personal training studios. So took that over. You know, it's a whole different animal. I mean, it's, you know, you've got over 1,000 some members, and you've got, you know, with that, you have a lot of maintenance type tasks. You have a lot of opinions. You have, you know, just a lot more of everything.
Opinion.
Yeah. But it's a great business, you know, different model of the PT and stuff like that. But something I still love, you know, and it comes with its own challenges. But those are some of the business ventures, you know, I'm currently kind of walking through at this time, and some I've kind of experienced. But yeah, I think that's kind of it without rambling on about boring stuff. But,
well, cool. So going back to the Battle of West Georgia, I've had the pleasure of being at the last 3, competed in the first 2, and I was there at the last 3, and it has grown. I believe the first year I competed, there was 50 of us, maybe, and now there's 100 plus this year, including the pros.
Yeah, we had right at 100 competitors, or a little bit over 100.
And it is by far one of the best shows that I've been to. Witness like the amount of effort that you guys go into to make it a show is phenomenal. So if you're watching this and you need a good show to compete in, definitely highly recommend. You can come get your national qualifier here now.
Sure can.
So it's a great place to go. You guys kind of technically answered the first 2 questions in that round. So we'll skip to number 3. What is one of the biggest challenges that you both have faced as business owners and partners? So, you know, Dylan, if you want to go ahead and lead us off since you got the mic.
Yeah. Oh, there are many things. So I'd say, you know, by nature, I'm a very people pleaser kind of person, you know, and very much an introvert, you know. So I think in business, it requires a form of you that's not that, pretty much. So ultimately, there are a lot of decisions to be made, a lot of things that are tough decisions, because you're having to make a decision that's best for the business, not necessarily what falls in line with what the nice thing to do is, you know? So a lot of times, you know, it's easier said than done. People say, you know, it's business, it's not emotional. You know, it's kind of a cliche thing people say, but it's every bit the truth. You know, I found myself in many situations time and time before where, you know, I have option A of doing the nice thing, you know, and option B of doing the right thing. And it sucks because you can't choose both, you know? So there's kind of a fork in the road you have to go with, but you know, you live and you learn, you know. I've been there many times where I chose the nice thing and it didn't work out, you know, and ultimately the right thing that hurt some feelings, but ultimately it was the best move. So I think kind of going through those times, it's required for any business owner at some point to kind of walk that line. And it's a tough one. I don't think it's ever gotten easier for me at all, but it's something that you do grow from. And you rest assured that you pray about these things, and really consider all outcomes, and then you'll provided your guidance through that. So I'd say the single most challenging thing I've ever had to face in business is just the decision making, when it comes to feelings being kind of involved.
You're a non-confrontational person.
Yeah,
me too.
absolutely. So I'd rather not. You know what I mean? Yeah. So some of those hard conversations are just required. Yeah. They're not negotiable. You have to have it. So you do, but it's just a matter of it's man, you lose sleep over it because it's tough.
I will say now that you own a public gym, I feel like you have to be confrontational to a lot of people.
You have to be.
Sir, you can't do that with that machine.
And you've got to be very straightforward. There's no time to be passive or anything like that. It's very straightforward. It's very confrontational. Even your staff, they're looking at you as a leader to kind of step in certain situations. So these are things that even by nature, if you're not very confrontational or very introverted, you're forced to take action in some of these situations. And, it's an uncomfortable thing, but you do get better with it. It doesn't mean it gets easier, but so.
Okay. Yeah. Devin, what about you? What's the hardest challenge you've ever had to face, as a business owner or partner?
Right. I find this question to be a little bit difficult to answer. The reason I say that, I think mostly because I've only been in ownership of a business for almost 2 years. So I'm still kind of early on into this, but I would say, as far as something being challenging, recently with a recent move, I've kind of jumped to a new location a little bit faster than I was planning to. And that's just been a lot of just having faith and, just prayer and just make sure that we're doing the right thing. And, but ultimately with my business, it's early mornings, late nights, a lot of the days, and it can be stretched out over a 14, 16 hour span for training. But I genuinely just care about everyone I train, and I really care about what I do, and I'm really passionate about it. And I enjoy it. So, a lot of people are like, "Man, your days are so long," but they go by so fast for me, and they really do. So, which is, like I said, I keep saying it's a blessing, but I mean, sometimes I'm just like, how am I getting paid to do this?
Yeah.
It just feels like it's not. I feel like I'm not even working.
Yeah.
So I truly love what I do, but as far as challenges go, I know the recent move was a little bit of a challenge, just having faith and this is what we're supposed to do, this is what we're supposed to be. And just taking that jump, and Dylan's been a really good source of guidance. I've been able to reach out to him. Obviously, we're twins; we talk almost every day. But because he's been in very similar situations to kind of steer me and reassure, hey, you're on the right path. And so it's been very good too. So I would say, really, looking back into future, what's the future hold for Apex? I think. Really, I'd be very interested in going back to school to finish out a degree in business, because, like I said, I'm kind of new to ownership for a business about 2 years. 10 years ago, I thought I was going to be a deputy for the rest of my life. I was going to be in law enforcement for the rest of my life, and so going to school for business has never been something that I was ever looked into. But now, as far as scaling and improving and getting bigger and trying to grow, there's a lot of things in the business aspect that I still don't know, 100%, that I still need to I want to educate myself on. So I think that would be a challenge that I just need to have more education in some of those fields to help grow and scale.
Okay.
But other than that, I feel like things have just been so easy going. Yeah. It's just been real smooth.
Well, that was my dad saying growing up was if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
So that's exactly what it sounds like. You go to work, but it's not work.
Yeah.
Because you love doing it.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm working when I go to the gym. I love doing it.
Yeah.
Time flies by, and I'm like, man, I've been here for 3 hours.
Right.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, very similar. The hardest thing for me to do is just fix my hair in the morning. Yeah. And it's a little.
There's a little bit of
There's a line there, but that's literally just the most difficult part of my day. Is I get up, I get dressed, get ready, and I go to work. I show people how to work out properly with good technique and form. I get to watch their progress. It's before my eyes. I see someone that's doing an assisted push-up on a barbell, and now they're doing full push-ups for reps and sets, and they can hold their plate 4 times longer. And I can actually watch them progress. And so I do that. I go work out, I go home, and just so I can get better than that. But so yeah, I think it's just been like I said, it's been a blessing.
Oh, good. And I know I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that neither of y'all are veterans. I mean, you did some time in law enforcement, very commendable. despite that fact, both of these gentlemen are very supportive of the veteran community. And it just clicked when we were talking about this. Every year we do a Memorial Day Murph, and Apex is a very big sponsor of that. I believe American Fitness sponsored last year. And hopefully next year we can convince Elevation to sponsor.
There you go.
Maybe get Battle West Georgia to sponsor. I don't know.
Right.
Milfit sponsors. But, that's another good thing about West Georgia. It's a very big, supportive veteran community. And both of these gentlemen are huge supporters of the veteran community. And we saw a little bit of growth, and we're doing hopefully a collab this year, and we'll potentially see a huge growth this year for that.
Right.
I feel like you both may have touched on this, so just a really quick answer, but how do you both mentally reset when burnout or stress hits? Because I know owning multiple businesses, having to drive from here to Villa Rica and back and forth all day, and then I know you're up at like 4 and you go home at like 8 every day.
Yeah.
Whenever that burnout or stress hits, like what's a good way that you mentally reset?
Yeah, and my wife knows this, which I think is very important if you're married to somebody, to really understand, like, hey, they kind of need their time. So Whitney, she's known this about me for a long time, but I just need my time to exercise. Okay. So whether if it's going for a run or just working out, period. Like if I don't do that for a few days, you can tell. And I guess I try to hide it around other folks, but I just it does get to you. You get tense, you feel stress, and but being able to go for a run or exercise is so important for me. That's been my stress relief since I was little. So that's actually how I guess we can get to a little bit later if we have time. But that's kind of where my fitness journey started. It was just really a way of stress relief and a way to escape and clear your mind, and just the benefits from the endorphins that you feel after a workout, and just confidence that you feel from that too means a lot. So. And that's what I preach for a lot of my folks is, coming in to work out it's important for many reasons, for health reasons, for confidence. But I think top of that list is always your mental health. So being able to go do something for yourself and clear your mind and do something that makes you feel good about yourself is so important. And to me, that's number one on my list of why I do what I do. And so that's always been something to where I have to work out 4 or 5 days a week, maybe run at least once, sometimes twice a week, to really clear my mind. So
okay, I feel like that's got to be at least 50% of the reason. Like 50% of the people in a gym, their reason is for mental health, right? If not more,
right?
And the other half or whatever percentage is just to look good naked.
Yeah,
I'm in there for both reasons.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Hey, why not?
Yeah,
best both worlds.
What about you, Dylan? How do you reset?
Yeah, pretty much same as Devin. So I mean, since I was younger, working out's been my outlet. Since I was like 12 years old. So that's something that's very important for me that I make an effort to set aside time for. Also nothing brings me more joy than like just being around my family, kids, so like I think just spend time around my family, just kind of unplugging and being there with my fam. And but also, there was definitely a period of time where I opened up the first Apex location where, I got so busy and I was blocking up my free time, when I was supposed to work out. And, there was a span of time within 6 months where, before I had Devin on board, where, I wasn't working out. I may have had like one workout a month, and I never felt more outside of myself in that time, talk about burnout and just feeling levels of depression and stuff. And kind of promised myself then I would never let myself do that again. I would always prioritize my time. And I think it's just that. So I think the way you kind of debrief a little bit, you just set aside time for yourself. I think it's very important for cognitive issues, situations, and mental health, and to set aside that time for yourself to work out, and also to spend time with your loved ones. So
love that. Yeah. So a huge thing in the veteran community is mental health, especially those that are getting out. They kind of like you, they just lose their way. They're so used to being told what to do, what to wear, where to go, when to be there, and then they're discharged. They're like, oh, crap, like what do I do? So that's one reason I ended up in the gym. Was because of that. So I definitely understand both of y'all coming from that, like that being your stress reliever. Even though that's what you do on a daily basis, that's still your stress reliever, is to get your own time in the gym.
Right.
All right, we're gonna go to kind of a couple like funnier questions, I guess. Sure. First off, who benches more? And what? Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. So, all right. Let me take you guys through like a quick memory lane here. So, ultimately, Devin and I are very competitive, probably more competitive than anyone you've ever met. And growing up, I was always benching more weight, doing more dips and pull-ups.
Talking about the past, everybody.
Okay, so but we would go week by week, chest day every day, and one week I'd go up 5 pounds on my max. He beat me the next week, yada yada yada. So at some point, we get up in the 300s, and I start having like these shoulder issues. I'm like, look, you got it. So long story short, Devin bench presses more. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, but yeah, it's just bench press though.
Let's just pause right there. First off, everybody, I had 3 open heart surgeries. He's talking about his shoulder issue that he apparently has and never got checked out, but it's okay. That was 3 open heart surgeries from this guy. So this guy has a complaint of some shoulder pain, which prevented him from beating me at a bench press. But anyway, I don't know if you had more to say. But
it's a bad shoulder. It's a bad shoulder.
It must have been a bad shoulder.
I'm gonna ask another question. I'm gonna ask another question, then you guys can go back at it. That obviously answers. I feel like I know who's more competitive based off of that too.
Yeah, he spoke a lot.
Yeah. I mean, he took charge of that. He's more competitive. Another fun question: have you guys ever pulled the classic twin switch on somebody? And if so, is it a story you can share? Is it something you're not going to get in trouble for doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we did this.
Did we do the same story?
It was like twice or something. But we're talking like first grade. Third grade.
Yeah, I think it was elementary school.
Yeah. I mean, but it was where we went to separate classes. But I think Devin told on us within like the first 5 minutes.
That's not what happened.
So it wasn't really,
No, our friends figured it out. So I think it must be elementary school, but we switched classes. Friends gave it away. They figured it out. But I think that was really the only time we did it.
No, Devin snitched. Devin.
Okay.
He got to class and was like,
I got nervous. What do you want me to say?
Yeah. I totally understand. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. People like the more they're around us, they really know who we are. Like initially, it's kind of confusing, but I mean, you're around us for a day or two, you kind of get the gist of it. No, okay.
I'm just glad you're wearing Apex and he's wearing.
There you go.
Sign that back real quick. I need to get a third mic. This would be. We would have a lot
Nobody
of
heard what
issues.
you said.
I know nobody's been hearing me for the past 5 minutes. I've just been over here talking to myself.
Yeah.
Hopefully the mic picked it up a little bit. Before we close, so this is a veteran-based channel because I myself am a veteran. Most of the people that I'll bring onto this show will be veterans, and our motto is not our motto, but like our little catchphrase is, what we do, we run. So as non-veteran entrepreneurs, what does that phrase mean to you guys?
Yeah, I'll start because I have the mic. Well, Devin has one now, but yeah, I think to me, it just means like when you're going after something, you go at it full force, right? So there's no reluctance here. There's no hesitation. You're running at it full force. Like it's either white or black, right? There's no gray area. If you're running with force, with intention, and that's what it means to me. I think it's just a matter of knowing what you want. The mission's clear, and you're going forward with that intent.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way about it. But I think just to kind of piggyback off what he said is like there's no like plan B, and it's just like there's a mission. You just go for it. You got to do it. You got to get the job done, and that's just how I feel. And I feel like this mindset that I have with a lot of things that I do is similar to it, and hopefully I'm on the right track here. But there's no plan B. You have something in your sights, and that's the only thing that you're hyper focused on and trying to achieve, and everything else is just kind of to the side. And what I mean by that is it's not that, like I said, there's so many things that make me successful. It's not we're Dylan successful, and it's not just we're good at what we do, but it's our spouses and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying put all those things to the side, like your family and everything, but as far as a goal in business to succeed, you got to be hyper focused on it. You got to be passionate about it. And so when the question says, "What do we do? We run." That's what I relate it to.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie, you guys are my third episode, and that's probably the best explanation I've heard. Yours was good, nice. But how you phrased it was just fantastic because the whole point behind Veterun is ran is past tense. And a lot of people, when we celebrate things like Veterans Day, they're like, oh, it's in the past. But veterans make up 7% of the small business owners in Georgia alone, out of the entire workforce, or out of the entire like small business ownership or business ownership in general. So my purpose behind this channel is to let people know that we are still running. We are running. We will be running. So the way that you phrase that, like, there's no plan B. Like when you get out of the military, and I know for those of you watching that are like, I know we mentioned this in the last episode, deciding that if you're going to get out or not, there should be no plan B. Like if you're going to get out, and just focus on that goal and go for that goal. So I really love how you put that. I do appreciate that. So as always, I did bring some T-shirts. Dylan, I know you're close. You want to grab those?
Nice.
They are not veterans, but they are veteruns. So
Did you
I
bring
did,
a medium for Devin?
No, I brought y'all both
Okay,
4XLs,
okay.
just like
fine.
you asked. Yeah. So as always, I do gift a free Veterun T-shirt. Appreciate that for
nice.
my guests on my show. But go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, hit the follow button. You know, all that YouTube stuff that I don't understand. Veterun is a purpose in motion. Once again, like you mentioned, there is no plan B. Once you start running, continue running. You know what we do? We run.
We run.
That's good.
Hey, anytime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get the body fat percentage calipers out here in a minute, guys. So I'll just stay
You don't want to
tuned.
do that. You're like,
We're gonna get the measuring tape.
No, go ahead. Give me a good flip.
You know,
we can do a flex
Don't
if
you
you
have
want
a
to.
torn
You might
pec?
not want to. Yeah, I've got a torn pec.
We'll do it the
Oh
opposite.
man. All right, here we go.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. Are you ready?
Is it torn back?
No, it's not.